Welcome to Progress ChefConf 2023.
You guys have an hour more with me, and now we are switching over to the product update session, where we will give an overview of, let me load the slide. Okay. And where we have structured this session in two parts. The part one is looking back and reviewing some of the new features that were released, and also giving you a demo of some of the capabilities that are in the system, which are lesser known but powerful enough for you to utilize. And then we switch over to the next segment, which is about future on what is planned for the next year. But before getting into that, let me spend a few minutes talking about the survey which we conducted last year, which gave us a lot of insights and was in the center of formulating the themes that we should be investing on the last year, and kind of has the reference even for this year. We got about 115 unique responses from various people, various disciplines, various level of experience. And also we got about 700 unique responses which were detailed enough for us to inform what's working, what is not working, where should we focus. Looking at the one important question of what, as Chef users, you all get the value. What's the most perceived value that you get from Chef? And it was not a surprise. It is automation, and automation at scale. And this came across in conversation with Larry and Tim, Stephanie, as well as Joe. And I'm sure a lot of you also share the same experience. And this gels very well with our Automate Everywhere theme and investment mindset. And that's where we saw a lot of input. And there was also mention of infrastructure as code, which is kind of adjacent, and that is what has enabled Chef to make automation possible. And we took that and we have expanded it into a more expansive and inclusive policy as code, which will let you not just automate the infrastructure, but also bring in security and compliance and take the as code approach and drive automation across your fleet. And compliance and security has been the third one, and considering the stress that organizations are going through to maintain, to secure their network and to maintain the compliance posture, this was also not surprised, but this was insightful, and we have taken this into consideration to continue our investment consistently on these aspects. When we look at what we should improve on, these were the top 5 items where the feedback was very clear. And looking at it thematically, all of them are around easy to use, easy to adopt. The first couple of them says very clearly that, but the last one also, the documentation on Learn Chef, is also indicative of how it has become difficult for teams to get started and also improve their education level on Chef. And that's what we took feedback about that, and what you saw from what you heard from Dan Choquette is a result of this feedback. Right? So each of this has come into our roadmap, especially agentless, and lack of agentless or push model was something that everyone strongly expressed, and we have made dedicated investment on that through the year, and it will continue to be one of the thematic investment. In addition to that, there were top 5. We had given 100 points for all participants to allocate 100 points on features that they want implemented. As you can see, these were the top 5, out of which last year we made conscious investment on scheduling support for push jobs, easier version upgrade for Chef, and supporting agentless model. This next year focus will be on the other 2, which we didn't focus as much on the 3 that you see. Consequently, we had these 3 themes: ease of use and upgrades, job orchestration, where you have been hearing courier and node management a lot, and hybrid cloud and SaaS, where we launched Chef SaaS, and we have iManage who were the first customers, and after that we had few more onboarded and started seeing the value of SaaS deployment model, and also value of consuming Chef products through AWS and Azure Marketplace, where you could consolidate all your consumption spend through cloud providers. I don't want to give away too many things. I have Steve, who heads the product management function. I want to welcome him, and so that he can give you a little more insights on some of the features that we delivered, and also walk through the demo.
Yeah.
Here's the clicker.
Yeah, thank you. So, thanks, Prashant. I'd like to take just a few minutes to talk about some of the accomplishments that we've had since last Chef Conf against the themes that Prashant mentioned. Starting off with ease of use and upgrades, we were able to deliver both Automate 4 as well as Automate GA. I know that was a well-anticipated feature, and while we delivered those, we partnered with early adopter customers to really improve the product real time. So I got to give a shout out to those early adopters because, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that partnership was key, and it's something we hope to continue with the rest of the products. So in addition to that, we previewed click-through UI integration with the most popular clouds, as well as we brought out parallel scanning for InSpec. Now, these things are already being utilized by a lot of customers in the field, and here's just one such example where a customer was able to mitigate some outages by employing Automate HA, and we have many such examples already this year, continuing in next year. For job orchestration, some of you may have heard me talk about this at ChefConf. I know everybody at Progress and Chef has heard me talk about it throughout the year, but we are now in active alpha with customers, onboarding customers, and that's a major milestone for us. In addition to that, something Prashant alluded to, something called Target Mode. We've been doing POCs throughout the year, and what that's going to allow us to do is agentless management.
So Steve, if I may interrupt to ask, how many of you have heard about Courier already? Yeah. So for those who have not, we have a dedicated session about it. We will talk about Courier, and also we have a few more insights about it. I realize that might not be familiar. We had an initial impression that it is a more familiar knowledge. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And so Target Mode will allow us to do agentless management, which is another thing that we're really excited about next year, and we're going to share a little demo about that in a minute. Now, following on the alpha and the Target Mode POCs we're doing going into next year, we will be bringing Courier into open beta, and actually bringing agentless management GA Target Mode, which has actually been in the product for quite some time yet. Now and just underutilized. So a little bit more about the Courier Alpha we're going through. I'm a little sad to hear that not so many hands went up for it. So let me talk about the interaction we're having with our existing Alpha customers, where we're bringing on board, talking to them about the scenarios that are most valuable, and we'll get the quickest value to them when they adopt. We typically will set up one or two, in the setup we'll enable one or two locations, representing anywhere between 2 and 4 nodes, and we'll walk them through the orchestration piece of it, which is scheduling, on-demand, job chaining, job dependencies, and many other things we'll talk about, and definitely try and participate in that session we have later on Courier.
And also, if you're wondering what's Alpha, Beta, GA, there is a session which we have, What's Cooking, Nischal and George are running that session, and there we talk about how we look at product lifecycle and how all of your input is valuable in us crafting not just the end product, but every small bit, every small feature comes from feedback in the process of building it. So do attend, and you will get insights into how we build the roadmap.
Yeah, and I think George thanks you for informing him. He's going to be doing that later. So on the SaaS and hybrid side as well, we were able to come out of early adopter and into GA. That's taking off workload and adding velocity to everybody who's able to use it. And we just had our friends from AmManage talking about that, and offloading their SLA is another big benefit to them. Some of the use cases for this is, I don't know how many people know this, but OpsWorks, Amazon OpsWorks is going to end of life much of their offering in the middle of next year. So we're working with all of their existing customers to bring them onto SaaS, which is going to solve a huge problem in the industry in general. So as I said, iManage has adopted and bringing velocity to their infrastructure, which we're really happy about, and we're going to get way more of these examples in the coming year, especially with the OpsWorks people coming online. So with that, I would like to,
Yeah, give it a minute.
Yeah. If the AV gods are with me, I'd like to start a demo here for you.
Progress Chef provides configuration management, compliance, remediation, and automation to allow organizations to maintain control of their infrastructure. These capabilities empower business with the flexibility to leverage Chef in the way that is most desired, or in many cases required, to support their operations at scale. In this presentation, we'll highlight some recently available and underutilized features that add significant flexibility to the core Chef technologies. The capabilities of these features include agentless management for devices and services that are incapable of installing Chef software, high-scale performance scanning for operations requiring continuous compliance against large node counts, and systems democratization to operation members familiar with configuration files but not code language structure. In the following demo, we'll interactively utilize infra target mode, inspect parallel scanning, and YAML configuration alongside Chef's standard capabilities. The scenarios will include compliance scans using Chef Automate web user interface or initiating scans directly within the CLI, using target mode to manage the infrastructure for nodes where support for the Chef client may be restricted, and using both Ruby and YAML to build recipes to manage and remediate the nodes running in the environment. As a prerequisite for this demo, we have two virtual machines running OpenWRT, which will act as target 1 and target 2. OpenWRT is a Linux-based open source project for routers and other network devices. It provides a customizable and secure platform for network performance optimization. Various security features are made available, including firewall, VPN, and intrusion detection, all of which help protect against network attacks and unauthorized access. A compliance scan has already been created and scheduled to run on a set interval to ensure the proper configuration and firewall rules exist. In this example, we're running Chef Automate in our data center, but customers can also look at leveraging Chef SaaS, which is provided as a service. In the Chef Automate web user interface, the scheduled compliance scan against the OpenWRT appliances report there's some failed controls. The compliance profile that was created and run against these two OpenWRT systems has three controls within a single file. The first checks for an HTTPS firewall rule on port 443. The second check is for a file called ip.txt. And the last is for an FTP firewall rule blocking port 21. In this report, the OpenWRT01 is missing the HTTPS firewall rule and the ip.txt file. However, it does have the block FTP rule. Whereas the OpenWRT02 has the HTTPS firewall rule, but is missing the FTP rule in addition to the ip.txt file. As mentioned earlier, the ability to confirm the same can be accomplished running these scans directly in the Chef command line interface. Running the scan against the first target, OpenWRT01, and specifying firewall in the command as the compliance profile name, -T indicates it's using target mode, and the authentication is using SSH into the machine with its IP address and password. As expected, the scan against OpenWRT01 has two failed controls, where the HTTPS rule and the ip.txt are missing. Running the same scan against OpenWRT02 shows once again the two failed controls, where the ip.txt and the block FTP rule are missing. Furthermore, looking on the OpenWRT web interface on each of these systems, we can confirm the same. A remediation script will be used to resolve these failed controls on OpenWRT01 using a Ruby recipe and target mode, since we don't have the ability to leverage the Chef client agent on these systems. This recipe will create a directory named IP_details and a text file within the same directory. It also has a few other mandatory settings and 2 firewall rules, the block FTP and the allow HTTPS. Running the Ruby recipe against the OpenWRT01 system with the command chef-client -z -t and the IP address. A credentials file is leveraged within this directory containing the necessary authentication information to access the system. Results indicate the IP.txt files created within the IP_details directory, and the allow HTTPS rule is configured on the target. Returning to the OpenWRT web interface and refreshing the page shows both firewall rules, the block FTP and the allow HTTPS, are now present. The compliance scan will be run again, but this time using a parallel scan against both nodes rather than individually. Inspect Parallel mode allows organizations to quickly scan multiple profiles on multiple targets, which can be used to scale to hundreds of nodes rapidly. Details of the remote machines are provided in a text file, which will log its output to 2 separate files, ruby-results.out and yaml-results.out. In addition, environmental variables can be leveraged while working with Inspect Parallel. The Inspect Parallel exec command will run the firewall profile against the nodes mentioned in the text file. 2 separate threads are running in parallel against the 2 target machines, the results of which are logged into the log file directory. Looking at the output file, ruby-results.out, we have all 3 controls passed after running the Ruby recipe against the OpenWRT01 system. The file yaml-results.out still reports the 2 failed controls since we have not run a remediation recipe against that target yet. So for those who prefer writing in YAML, we can see all the rules are the same as in the Ruby recipe used earlier. Creating a file within a directory and configuration of the necessary firewall rules. Running the YAML recipe using target mode against the OpenWRT02 with the same command, chef-client -z -t and the IP address. Results indicate the IP.txt files created and the block FTP rule is set up on the target. Returning to the OpenWRT02 UI and refreshing the page shows the firewall rules, allow HTTPS and block FTP are now both present. Now that both systems are updated with the proper configuration, the last compliance scan will be run in parallel against both machines to confirm the results. The files ruby-results and yaml-results show all the controls passed. And now, when running the compliance scan on the scheduled interval in the Chef Automate web user interface, we can once again confirm that all controls have passed. With that, our demo is concluded. Thank you for your time and interest in these capabilities. We hope you found this information valuable, and we look forward to hearing from you about the problem-solving patterns and use cases in your own environments utilizing these lesser-known but powerful features.
All right, so I'm super excited about this. For those that may not pick up on the gist of the OpenWRT thing, it means pretty soon network configuration as code. So we're looking forward to delivering that next year. And with that, looking forward, we'll hand it back over to Prashant.
Yeah. And if you're wondering how can you learn more about it, right after this, I think after a short break after this session, we have a hands-on workshop of on target mode. So you could get, I think we have 10 or 12 slots there where we have pre-configured the installations, right, George? And then you could learn a lot about it. And we will share more details as we go. But if you are eager to try, you have an opportunity to do it right after this. With that, let's spend a few minutes on what's in stock next year. And when we started this journey on the 3 themes that we invested last year, we realized that there is more that we have to build. And also, after a long time, we started building a lot of things from scratch. And when we started building this, we realized that the value of the components or software components that we build can be amplified enormously if they are allowed to interact with each other, if they are integrated not just with each other, but also with the broader ecosystem in DevOps, say tools, processes, and also people interaction. So that, as well as looking at the user journey that we provide currently, which is fragmented, and also reflection of our internal teams rather than how people actually use and interact various parts of the product, we had to refocus our themes into 3 areas. And those 3 areas are Chef platform, and the second one is optimizing our user journey, and third, of course, is what we always look at, building more capabilities, building more features. We have to keep expanding that, but we are doing it kind of in a platform first way. Talking about Chef platform, it is working with these following tenets: automate everything, reach everywhere, empower everyone, and adopt open standards. And all the services that we are building, or all the capabilities that we are adding into our portfolio, is being built on Chef platform. And we also are reimagining the user experience so that you get an integrated experience. For example, our infra client runs and inspect scan results, don't they have to go hand in hand? Yes. And is it seen like that today? No. And that's where we are. There are many such cases where there are a lot of silos and also lack of cohesion exists. So we have reimagined our user experience from ground up, and we have John coming up shortly, who is going to give you a preview of the concept that we have on what our new user experience is going to be on the new Chef platform that we build. And of course, we will add new features, and I'm going to come back up in a bit and talk about what are the new features and timelines that you can expect. But before that, let me invite George, who will walk us through and give some insights on our platform journey. And yeah, over to you, George.
Thank you very much, Prashant. So how many people sat through my presentation last ChefConf on Chef platform? I'm sorry to all of those of you who did. But this is going to be a quick recap here. What I want to talk a little bit about is why we think a platform journey is as important as to us as it is to you. So we're going to start right now talking about what platform is. So before we jump into all the gritty details and all the understanding of the services, let's take a moment just to think about platform the way we do together. The DevSecOps journey that we've all encountered and we've started is really started around communication, breaking down walls and silos, how your operations team and your dev teams work together. Maybe that's building more dev capabilities in your operations team. Maybe that's making your dev teams more aware of operations. And as we heard from Rich, this extends to security and other items related all throughout the organization, bringing everybody back again together in a cohesive unit. How many people believe that the tools that you have today, be it Infra, Habitat, and Inspec, do that same behavior? Are we cooperative now? Or do you have to build a lot of glue? You've got to build a lot of glue. So we would like to take that conversation and be the thread that binds throughout the organization. Chef Platform is the opportunity for us to integrate our tools better, deliver you better value, but also allow you as an organization to get greater value across those tools without you having to build more options. Again, removing that undifferentiated heavy lifting. So that core ecosystem that we're talking about, as we think through this one, we want to identify these 4 key principles, and Prashant mentioned them really briefly. The first one is automate everything. When we think about this is automate everything within reason. Right? There's always going to be a human gate. Someone needed to approve that release. Someone needed to be able to see or check that third-party component to read it. We want you to be able to be empowered to automate everything, but have the appropriate cycles in place, workflows, automations, and tracking. And we want to be core native to the platform itself. We also want to reach everywhere. And we think about this is that every cloud to every edge that you hear us and see on some signs outside and other components. Whether it be a single board computer, your cloud environment, multiple data centers, we want to go where you are, and we want to go where your customers are. We want to be sure that those compliance activities that you're doing in the cloud environments during data center migrations or in those single board computers are consistently available. They're always where you expect them to be, and they're auditable at any point in time. Now, it's okay to go everywhere, and it's okay to automate everything, but if we don't reach everybody inside your organization, I can't really help you with that DevSecOps communication journey. So as we hear from John in a little bit, we're going to be expanding our user experience to be a very persona-based operation. Whether you're an operator, you're going to get a unique experience. If you're a security team, you're going to get a unique experience. And that's great. And the UI is going to help with that. But we all know we're a CLI-based company, CLI first, code is everything. That also may not reach to your entire organization. What if you want to be a ClickOps-based organization? I still want the power of infrastructure as code. I still want a policy as code. We can give you a UI to be able to build that low-code solution, move into a low-code, no-code, or maybe even investment more in YAML. So again, empowering everybody inside your organization to see the benefits you have and getting more out of the dollars and the investment you have inside of Chef. The final guiding principle here for us is about open tenants and open standards. And this could be things such as open API specifications. All Chef platform is all available in Open API 3. So everything across that, complete open standards. Also, open telemetry integrations and other common technologies. Really being a better corporate citizen for all the investment that you've had across your ecosystem. And of course, this means Kubernetes. So when we think about Chef platform going forward, high reliance on a Kubernetes-based runtime and deeper integration to areas that you've invested in. So we're going to have plenty of time to talk through the actual independent architectures, whether it be through an open spaces event or a beer later after dark. So I'm not going to go through the nitty-gritty of this, but I want everybody to understand that at the core of Chef platform is InSpec, Infra, and Habitat. This is the core of our universe. This is about building an ecosystem, an integrated ecosystem around those engines that you use today and allowing you to see better benefit out of them. Whether it's a traditional compliance as code operations or additional uses for InSpec, maybe it's taking your Chef client and using it not just for desired state configuration, but on-demand changes. It's giving those tools necessary to increase the investment that you see. Which means we have all the core services everybody expects. Authentication, security, logging, yada, yada, yada. Some of these services that we're going to see here in the next few minutes aren't coming out in GA, but I'm happy to show you all of the architectural diagrams and show you how everything that we talk about is about to connect. But it does start with Courier and node management.
And
Courier,
George,
yeah.
This is what our alpha users are experiencing, right? They have getting access to the product that is built on Chef platform.
Correct. So Chef platform isn't I'm not standing up here saying anything that is not in production that has not been developed. I've got code, we have samples, we have workshops, we can stand them up, I can show you an environment, we can walk through these. So everything that we're talking about might not be ready to go, but there's architectures in place for this and there's plenty of demos available. This is not a slideware presentation for you. Courier.
There is a slideware presentation coming up next, but this is not that.
So Courier is about enterprise job orchestration. Desired state configuration isn't enough. You can't always guarantee that things are happening. You have to do rolling deployment, blast radius control for upgrades. Courier is the foundation of that, moving work through your environment in an enterprise fashion. Node management is addressing the things that we've heard every time and time again about upgrades. It's really painful to do rolling upgrades or rollbacks for Chef client and other operations. Node management is about embracing the entire ecosystem that you have and having tools from a central location to manage that, whether it be reporting, searching, discovery, and other items. Going a little bit further into the future, we have skills management. You'll hear us start to use the term skills a lot, and these are giving capabilities to those nodes. Be that skill, be it an InSpec scan, be it a Courier agent, be it a Chef operation. We're going to give you centralized management for those as well. We're going to discover items about your network. Understand what's running in the cloud right now. What isn't covered by Chef, what is covered? So you have a natural delta between those operations. Taking that notion that we've all loved about it, the concepts and promises of the CMDB, and having it built on discovery and Chef capabilities. So you can see in real time what your network looks like. Enrollment, you might generally think about this as bootstrapping, where you've built your own workflows, maybe you're using Knife, maybe you've got some other areas to add Chef client, it's going to become a native component of Chef platform. The entire lifecycle management, dealing with ephemeral environments, getting that Chef client on there if it's needed, removing it when it's no longer needed. Wouldn't be a modern platform without secrets management. And this is a bring your own secrets model or use what we have. Maybe you've invested in a keyless or you're a HashiCorp Vault organization. We have abstractions around that. Again, open standards, better corporate ecosystem. Can't really talk about the center of DevSecOps being a communication tool if we don't actually have notifications or alerts. So really moving into this workflow component. So you're going to see a fantastic demo from John later about assigning tasks and delegating responsibilities through communication in a single language. We want to bring all of the content together into one area so that you can start to unify. This is my chef policy file. This is the inspect profile that links those two. This is the habitat packages that provide this. This is the courier job that you can use to orchestrate that. Starting to bring that communication together and make associations between content into one seamless location. We have a compliance aspect. When we think about compliance being the future component here, a lot of times we think that compliance is different than security. Everything that you do in compliance is security. Maybe not everything you do in security is compliance, but everything we do here starts in this. This is about increasing the workflow capabilities, adding better attestations, waivers, and workflow capabilities from a central organization to manage that across your fleet. And the final item here in this slide, because there's no more room, and I only had a certain amount of time to talk, is application delivery. And this is more than just deploying applications out to the components in here. This is about a global ecosystem. You've probably heard us talk about Panera's use cases and other use cases. We have plenty of other customers that are doing this. Again, central core tenet, improved RBAC controls, improved understanding of how delegation works across organization units, business units, and other capabilities. All part of the core ecosystem and design here. And this is done in a microservice-based approach with open standards, open communication across those areas. Use what you need, enhance it where you want, but we're handling all that integration, removing that undifferentiated heavy lifting that you've had to do in the past and making it core to the platform. Now that we've spent some time talking about the what and the when, everybody wants to, or the what and the how, everybody wants to know the when. So as we are talking right now, there are customers in a private preview. These are running inside of our environments that are controlled, and they're playing with Chef Platform, validating business use cases on courier and node management. Hands-on keyboard activities. I want to upgrade Chef Client on this node. I want to run these jobs. I want to handle the quorum problem that Chef has never been able to handle for us before. How do we do it? We've got demonstrations. We have customers that are validating those use cases. The next step is taking that Kubernetes runtime that we talked about and showing and demonstrating the resiliency around that. Not just the scale components, but truly chaos engineering at a platform level. What happens when I start destroying nodes? How does this platform recover? So everything becomes HA by design. Whether you're one node or 100 nodes or you're across a cluster, it's all HA and it's all there all the time. Then we'll move into a closed beta on-prem. And this is taking this and deploying it in your environment, whether it be in your air gap, in your security areas. We're progressively working towards the GA release. All of the lessons that we learned from Automate HA, working with customers and understanding your environments are different, this is now a very controlled approach to getting us to where we need to go. And of course, GA. You hear a little bit more about that from Prashant and other areas around courier and node management being the first component in this Chef platform. But that's not the only component. Shortly thereafter, we'll see Automate and InfraServer available as containers running in Kubernetes on the platform. Now, the last thing I'm going to mention before I bring John up on stage here is the whole reason we're moving to this services-based approach in this platform is so that we can shrink the amount of code that we have and treat these individual services as feature complete and items to be able to move on and continuously deliver value. We want to really stabilize the system, not just from a security perspective, but we want to take all of the resources that Chef has from an engineering perspective and be able to focus them and deploy them incrementally to deliver value over time. So Chef Platform, you should expect regular releases of new features. Every one of those services I've talked about, I can show you the designs and we can talk through when and how they're going to make your lives better from that perspective. I'm super excited about where we're going with Chef Platform, but I'm even more excited when I start looking at things that John is doing here, and we can see how the different items that we think about from a code-first perspective actually translate into a UI, and we can really start to democratize those approaches. So, John?
Thanks, George.
Thanks, George. Get this over here. Thanks, George. Yeah, I'm very excited about the Chef platform that George is talking about, but I'm also excited about the Chef UX journey that our efforts have been put into. And right now, but first, let me talk to you about who I am for those who do not know me. I'm John Ong. I'm the user experience manager for all the Chef products. I've been with Chef products for the last 11 to 12 years. I think January will be my 12th year with this. And I was brought here to show you this demo, which Prashant and George and everyone's been talking about. But first, I want to talk about two things about these concepts that I'll be showing you. These are the concepts, so these are not built yet. So this is fictional, but some things may come to fruition, some may not. But this is just an idea that we have that I could pitch around to the product teams and engineering teams, and we build off those ideas. Also, this is a platform for where my designers can explore. So you may see colors that are off. They're like, it might be kind of hard to see, and because we like to create, and this is where we create. And two, I'd like to walk you back for a lot of you here is maybe a short, brief history about where we were in the past, the evolution of our concepts when I first started. So I had to dig way deep back into my archives. 2012, if I remember people, this is when we were still ops code at this point. It was the configuration management tool. This is the first thing that we did, and I started doing my reporting tool, which evolved into Chef Manage, and you can still see the ops code logo still on that. And I believe there were some other concepts in between, Chef Analytics, I believe there was Chef Delivery in there. This eventually then went into Automate version 1 back in 2017. And then now it goes to the one that we do know, to the Automate version 2. And these concepts, they look slightly different because these are still the mockups out of my archives. And so we might have different charting libraries or different features that may have never been through. Along the way, we've learned quite a few things, as Prashant and George mentioned, is there's the whole idea of the democratization, where in the past, we designed for one user, we tried to do a one-size-fits-all interface, but as we grew, we had more different roles come into play, and that did not make sense. Two, context switching. We had the classic thing of the Conway's Law to where we designed our products according to our business structure. Like you can see this in Automate to where Habitat team, infrastructure, and the compliance team. Which brings us to today. The demo I'll be showing to you right now, and that's right here. Let's see if this works. Here we go. So what I'm going to show to you right now is two paths. One is a IT operator. Their whole thing is to just come in and apply policy. And so let's do that right now. It's loading right now. Yeah, there we go.
This is the concept that he was talking about, and this is a concept demo.
Yep. And this is my Figma, so this is like really kind of archaic. And so there is by the UX designers here. So let's log in as DevOps, give a password, log in. And what you'll see here is our landing page right now. And this is going to be catered to this person. Right now, it's a net new, so we give you a guided tour. So right now, let's enroll some nodes. We're going to choose it. That gives you options from the cloud for an inventory integration. We're going to go through a Chef server. And we could choose from our inventories. Right now, just Chef server. Give it our endpoint URL with some credentials. And enroll it. And this will now go out to the Chef server, figure out what's on that server, and it'll come back with this list. And like here, you can remove and like modify if you'd like to. But for this demo, we're just going to say confirm it. And this will now go into the platform to where we now have management on this. And this is where we can enroll. And you can actually set up systems to like automatically install when you do this. Like for instance, you can see right now, there's these nodes. You could filter by them, of course, by windows. But you can see that these windows, they do not have inspect on them. And let's say, let's install inspect on all these. So we get to choose these. We're going to install a skill. And we can choose our skill. Right now, we're showing an inspect 5.79. There's some conditions here, and you can install it. There's a confirmation. And then now, all of those nodes will have inspect installed, so you could run them locally when you run your cookbooks or whatnot. Now, the cool thing I'm excited about, and I've been hearing about all you guys wanted in the past, was grouping. How do you group these? So this is where we can now group these nodes. And we call it a node list. And we have two types of node lists. One is a very static and one's dynamic where it's updating. For this demonstration purpose, we're doing a static list to where we select them, we give it a name, all Windows staging loads, and then we confirm. This will then take us to a distribution node group. And you can see in the past we've made some other ones. But these are now all the nodes that we've grouped together where now we can perform actions or those courier jobs that we're going to get to. So let's perform a courier job and apply that policy I was talking about. So we're going to choose the group, and then from this drop down here, you have the courier job. On the left panel here is going to be a list of all the groups that you created, and right now you can see our one group here. You could add other groups. On the right, you can see it here. So if I were to add right here, you can see it comes down like the testing, but we're just doing one. There are some basic settings here, like I'd like to run this in a batch, so let's do it for every 20, run this courier job, and we'll hit next. This is where we schedule it. On the left, we have a templatized version to where if we say, for instance, common, I want to run it every Monday, every other week, you can make that, you can templatize that. But for this situation, we're just doing one run through, so we just keep the date as is, hit next. Now this is where the meat and potatoes are of courier, where we have actions, where you can tell it to use inspect to run a profile. And we also templatize that. So we actually have one called Inspect Compliance Scan, to where we're telling Courier to run the inspect with the CIS Windows benchmark. And then we also have a bunch of conditions, and we could add actions based on, like, say, if this benchmark fails, you could run your remediation cookbooks, perform any other actions, and so forth. And this gets very hefty. But for this demo, we just kept it straight to just running a basic compliance scan. So let's scroll down, hit next. It'll give you a summary. So which nodes or which targets you're going to hit, the job schedule, when you're going to do it, and all the actions it will perform. And so we'll give it a name to refer it and a description. It will dispatch it. It will confirm. And it will go now to the Courier jobs. And these are all the jobs running all those actions, from the inspect scans to the Courier, all the Courier jobs. And so might be the end of this person. They might not care about this. They don't care about the results. So let's log out and be that person. So I'm going to log in as a security officer. And when they come in, you can see that the dashboard has been tailored to them. So based on their previous actions, they may have looked at an old report. They may have put a widget for a news feed in here. So this is for them, and they could see what George was talking about. We're talking about an event center. It's an idea we're having to where if something is triggered by a failure, it could come on this dashboard. They could look at it, see what the event is. So this is for a rail instance, a scan failure. It gives you the count of nodes. And now if the CISO or if the security person wears more than one hat, they have the opportunity to investigate it and fix themselves if they have all the hats. Or they could come in here and assign it to somebody with some brief descriptions and then update. So when this one person signs into their system, they will see this on their event thing, and they could then fix and resolve that thing. So that's the demo I have right now, and I will be walking around, and I'll be glad. This demo has so many more features in it, but with my time constraint, I can show that on the app. Thanks.
Hopefully, you guys got some preview and got some. John kind of undersold himself. He and his team has been researching for the last 8 months, and we couldn't have made it possible without feedback from many users like you, and a lot of experts in our organization, our CAs, SAs, they have fed a lot of input to this. So this is, at this point, it's a concept, but our aim is to bring this to all of you in incremental way, like how George was saying, incremental releases. So we apply the same principle even for this UX. We mentioned that there is a small bit of this already being built out, and that's a good segue to talk about some of the launch announcements. And as we are talking about UX, wanted to give a preview on, based on this platform, we have simplified the getting started experience on cloud security posture management SKU that we launched last year, where you had to do about 8 different clicks to get configure your AWS or Azure or GCP account, which has been concised to a wizard-like system. And this is currently under preview, and we will be making it generally available through the year, and bring the same principles and similar experience of UI to Courier node management as well. And we also, Dan was here, so he talked about how the feedback from you all about making Chef Learn or Learn Chef easier and accessible to all of you is important, and that's what we worked, and we will be launching. In fact, it is live, but it'll be made, we'll do an announcement and we'll make it available to a broader set of people. And in addition to that, we also have these 2 certifications, Associate Chef as well as Executive Chef, which is accessible in a self-serve manner once someone in the organization makes the decision to purchase this. In continuing our journey on Chef SaaS, we are bringing Chef SaaS onto AWS Marketplace. There were 2 reasons why we did this. One is, of course, the AWS OpsWorks, which is scheduled to be end of life in June. So AWS customers who are using Chef on AWS OpsWorks needed a path to transition, and the preferred path is Chef SaaS. And for that also, as their current spend is going via AWS billing system or their accumulated AWS spend, so they wanted to continue that, and that was the primary reason. And second is it is available for anyone who would want to have your cloud expenditure consolidated. If you are looking at standing up a new project within your organization, and if you want it to be SaaS, and if you don't want to go through a complicated procurement cycle, this helps you simplify that because it is done all within your AWS console. And many of the developers can do it, and there are policies within your organization which will kind of make this decision simpler. And we also introduced a new kind of deployment model, which is a standalone deployment model, in addition to what we have currently, which is highly available deployment on SaaS. And this also came out of a lot of requirements from customers like yourself. They asked for something lightweight and also at a different price point. And we also have brought SaaS onto various geographies. When we started off last year, it was only in US, East and West, and now we have expanded it to various geographies. It is available in Singapore, Australia, Ireland, South Africa, and it could be available wherever there is AWS deployment option. But of course, there is the cost difference, and there are some services which are not available there. That's where we are making it available one region at a time. And this is something you saw in demo. We saw target mode, agent is live, but it's functional. The engine is live. What we are looking at through this year is to ramp up the documentation, craft out demos, and educate this and bring it as part of our Learn Chef platform, and also build out out-of-the-box resources so that your adoption time is it's faster. And if you want to start using it now on a production grade, it is ready. Our professional service team can help you because they can implement these resources if your team is not ready to implement or needs time to implement. And but what we are looking for is in a year or year time, we add adequate amount of resources so that you have most common resources for most common use cases, most common devices available for you to try out. And of course, use Open API so that wherever we don't have out-of-the-box resources, you could use open standards to communicate and configure, manage them. And of course, this is part of our roadmap. It will have first-class integration with all the products, including Courier. And last but definitely not least, this is something we have been working tirelessly over the last year, and like Stephen mentioned, we are in alpha access, and we are about to call for closed beta. If anyone is interested, please talk to us. We will give you more details, and we will tell you what you can and cannot do in beta, and when is it available. Right? And we intend to make it generally available in 2024. We will start our GA with command line and API interface, and we will layer in UI after we make the GA release of command line and API interface. With that, I'll pause and thank you.